David Gordon Green recently did an interview with Movie Maker, and this was done after the release of the film, so it's filled with spoilers. So David Gordon Green tells Movie Maker, quote, "We had to decide how we wanted to wrap up these characters. How do we want to make it not just a nice, neat bow on a franchise? Honestly, we never once considered making a Laurie and Michael movie. The concept that it should be a final showdown type brawl never even crossed our minds. I wanted to see where it would go. I wanted one to win, one to die, but we were always more ambitious with that. So how did we want to go out? By doing what no one except us would do. Make a love story. It's our version of going out with a bang and opening our hearts to this community and these characters." How do we want to go out? By doing what no one except us would do, which is make a love story, their version of going out with a bang. I said in my review, and I said to you guys last week, I can't think of another true, yes, albeit abbreviated, rushed love story. But hey, I mean, young people in their early 20s, that's kind of how love goes in a way, right? But we've never really had that in one of these movies. I mean, we really haven't. So David Gordon Green expands on all of this love story element of Halloween Ends. He says, quote, "I've had an itch to do a love story, which I haven't done in a while. I tried to infuse it into my Boston Marathon bombing movie, Stronger, where the concept was so heavy. I said, how do we not make it about terrorists? Let's make it about love. I had a lot of those same urges to not make this just about a psychopath. Instead, we made it about what can create the psychopath without having to go into Michael Myers' psychological backstory. People have tried to do it, and it isn't interesting to me because it tends to make him less scary as an entity. But can we get into the development of evil? What a community that neglects the well-being of their own can unleash on themselves in a way that they didn't intend? That's something that is fascinating, and I think it happens all the time." And he talks a lot more in this interview. You can find it at moviemaker.com, but he talks more about the humor in the movie, which there's been a good deal, I'd say, humor of any of these three movies, and I got no problem with that. I mean, I think some of the stabs at humor, pun intended, in some of the previous Halloween movies in this franchise, I never found to be too funny. These movies had a few funny moments that were legit levity amid the dread. Specifically, though, David talks here in this quote about, again, the courtship, if you will, of Corey and Allison, and how it's humor that helps these two. Well, I'd say Corey is definitely socially awkward, and Allison, I would imagine, is as well. David says, quote, "I asked Danny McBride how to infuse these characters with a likability that magnetizes them to each other so early in the movie. His answer, of course, was humor. And I said, yeah, but they're not funny people." And he was like, even better, it's a bad joke. She tells him a bad joke and he's going to fall in love with her. He's right. That's why Allison says, why can't the bicycle stand on his own? Because it's too tired. Now, here is where it gets interesting, exciting, bittersweet. I don't know the best term here of what. You guys tell me what you get from this. They mentioned the blue font in the opening credits as an homage to Halloween 3. And David Gordon Green says, and this is a quote to Movie Maker, "There was an ending I wrote that we never filmed, and it takes place at Silver Shamrock Factory as it was spitting out witch, skeleton, and jack-o'-lanterns masks. And then it started spitting out Michael Myers masks. I had a temptation to go there, but at the end of the day, I thought that's just fan service for people who know what Silver Shamrock is. It was in every draft of the script we ever published, but we never filmed it. And he's laughing as he says this. You guys, what do you make of this? Would you have liked to see this ending? You know my feelings. I would have just left the theater with the biggest grin on my face, like, oh my god, I can't believe they did that and they went there. I mean, um, and to hear him say, oh no, it's too much fan service to people that know what Silver Shamrock is. Oh, come on. Everybody that matters knows what Silver Shamrock is. And if they don't know, then, it would have just been a commentary that, yeah, that mask is going to get manufactured by the same people that made those other masks that you glimpsed in the other movies. It would have just been a cool little, tie into your previous movies. And, but anyway, of course, I wish that had been the ending. That would have been so mind blowing and amazing. And to hear him say it was in every single version of the script ever published, every draft, but they never filmed it. I don't even know how to feel about that, because we've heard from some of the people we've talked to. I mean, I've never met David Gordon Green, but I've watched his interviews. I've read all of his interviews. I watched him at a live Q&A at H4, And what we know from some of the cast members is his tone of voice never really changes, but he does joke around a lot. He is always joking, but his voice doesn't really change. So you kind of got to be around him and get used to that, is what we've been told. And I just, sometimes I wonder when I read this, I'm like, how much of this is he just messing with us? You know what I mean? Is he just having fun with us? Was that really in every single version of the script? And if it was, well then, to be, how much of that was misdirection? How much was let's put that in there and see how much of it leaks out to the internet and then never film it or something. I mean, I never saw it leaked out, but I know there was a lot of headlines on YouTube, stuff that I didn't click on, where it was talking about Silver Shamrock links. And I know a lot of you theorized that there'd be bigger Silver Shamrock links. I personally think it was a missed opportunity not to play that Silver Shamrock jingle on WURG. You got the radio station, you got the DJ, the whole awesome sequence. Oh my god, it's their secret spot on top of the radio station. That's the tie-in with the tower. Oh, you wouldn't even have to play it. Just even the first few notes. Just that. And then cut. All of us would have just... Anyway, not going to obsess over that too much. But here is where it gets even, to me, even more interesting. Well, on his comments on Halloween 3, first of all, David Gordon Green says that he loves the film, of course, no surprise. And he says, quote, I think it could be a vehicle someone can crack and reinvent. And this is the part that I found very interesting. He says, one serious conversation I had with producer Malik Akkad was, do I really want to just throw a gag in my movie that's gonna fuck up what someone could seriously do with that title? It's a cool movie. He's speaking of Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. So I thought my nods would be the blue titles in the intro for those insightful enough to catch it. Now, of course, we caught that, but this is the part that got me. One serious conversation I had with our producer, Malik Akkad, was, do I really want to just throw a gag in my movie that's going to F up what someone can seriously do with that title? They had a serious conversation about what somebody could hypothetically possibly do with that title, meaning Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, meaning the Silver Shamrock Novelties Corporation. Yeah, I know it's very tempting for us all to start looking at what's next and what's going to come next, and there's a lot of thoughts and hopes and dreams and theories and suggestions and recommendations, and a lot of people have said, Tommy said it in our interview, David saying it here, that the time has kind of caught up with with the elements of Halloween 3 that were ahead of their time in '82. Just the fact, though, that it went to a serious conversation with Malik, David and Malik having this conversation. That's where it went. Was like, should we end the movie with this or not? And they say they never filmed it, so it's not something we can see in those deleted scenes. I mean, they did film an alternate ending that I hope we'll see in the deleted scenes. But man, all I know is had they done that, I would have loved it. And I think the people that didn't know what was up would have just assumed that it's a comment on, well, of course they're going to start selling that mask now and mass producing it. And if you recognize the other masks from the previous two movies, and that's it, because you don't know Silver Shamrock, well then you would just think it links to them. Is what I think. But I turn it over to you guys. What do you think about those quotes, specifically that Silver Shamrock ending there that was in every script published but never filmed? A couple more interesting quotes. When asked what John Carpenter said when he learned that Corey would be the protagonist who leads us to Laurie and Michael's final clash. Is he the protagonist, though? He's kind of like a additional antagonist, right? I mean, it's kind of like Laurie and Allison are the protagonists. But anyway, David Gordon Green says of Carpenter's input on Corey, he says, quote, he was cool with it. He's like any skeptic. What are you going to do? Write the same thing over and over? When he wrote Halloween 2, he was like, oh, we didn't know we were going to go here. That's where Season of the Witch comes from. It's him saying, no, guys, we're not going to just make Michael Myers and Laurie Strode movies all the time. We're going to mix it up. Do a little anthology. End quote. And again, it's David Gordon Green citing, well, we didn't get as many Halloween 3 visual references with those masks in the film. I mean, it's so immediate with the credits. And now to hear all of this, I mean, this is David Gordon Green essentially telling us that yeah, you don't like the overall focus on Michael Myers. Well, it's just, again, a little bit of Halloween 3. So yeah, to say that these two movies, Ends in 3, Season and Ends, Season of the Ends, I don't know, Ends of the Witch, they're going to be linked for a long, long time, I think, in more ways than one on many different levels. And here at the end of the interview, one of the final questions is David Gordon Green is asked how he responds to the negative feedback for Halloween Ends. So again, this interview took place after opening weekend of the film. There was enough of the feedback out there. We know it's divisive and polarizing. I guess I expected a lot of that going in. It still managed to surprise me despite what I did know going in. So that, again, part of the reasons I think I'm responding well to it. But here's David's response to the negative feedback for Halloween Ends. David Gordon Green says, quote, it's funny. When someone says build your dream house on this real estate using this title and these characters, everybody is going to find a different little thing that's meaningful for them, and they'll make it their own. That's what I did. For every bite of backlash, you also get people that are thanking you for taking it to a new place and keeping it alive and full of love. End quote. All right, you guys tell me what you think about all of these new comments on Halloween Ends from David Gordon Green.